Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to another episode of Nevi'a the Storyteller. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Cain and Abel, and we're going to be looking at the book of Genesis chapter 4 from verse 1 to verse 16. In this chapter, Adam and Eve knew each other in the biblical sense, and they had two beautiful sons, Cain and Abel. Now Cain was a farmer and cultivated the land to produce fruits, while Abel was a herdsman, not the type you're thinking about. When it was time for harvest, Cain brought fruits and gave to God, while Abel chose the finest firstborn of his flock and presented it to God. Now, of course, God rejected Cain's sacrifice and accepted Abel's sacrifice. Cain was not happy about it. He was whining, he was angry. And then he called his brother aside to talk to him in the field, struck him, killed him. Now God called Cain. Cain, where is your brother Abel? And Cain says, am I my brother's keeper? Am I his babysitter? Your God, you know everything, so if you're looking for him, you ought to know where he is. And God told Cain that your brother's blood is crying to me from the earth. Why did you kill him? Because I did not accept your sacrifice. If you had done what was right, would you not have been accepted? If you had given me your best, would I not have commended you? Instead of you to think of how to do better, the only thing you could think about was to kill your competition. Wow. Now before we judge Cain, let's look at how merciful God was to him. God told him that he was going to be a wanderer, a vagabond, and then he was going to roam about the earth. And he was sad and he said, God, this punishment is too much for me. People will see me and then as I'm wandering about, they'll kill me. And God said to him, don't worry, I'll put a sign upon you that when men see you, they will not kill you. Wow. Don't forget, he had just killed his brother, and what he did was seemingly a huge sin. But God still showed him mercy. God still set him apart so that when men see him, they will not harm him. Now let's look at this story in depth. Cain was upset because his brother was favored. Have you heard of such situations, or have you been in such a situation? You know how when your friend is doing better than you, you're like, God, why not me? You know how when your friend buys a new car, the exact car you've been eyeing all this while, and you're like, God, where is your face? Why don't you love me as much as you love my friend? You know how your friend gets promoted and you have that feeling inside of you and you're like, I deserve that promotion too. Today we'll be reminding ourselves to rejoice with those that rejoice and wait for our own turn. God is not unfaithful. If you do the work, you will reap the results. If you give a good sacrifice, you get a good report. God is not unjust. And like he told Cain, if you do what is right, will I not commend you too? You might even be doing what is right. You might be toiling the soil, doing your best, bringing forth your best to God, giving God your best harvest. And still it seems like God is blessing everyone but you. How about you wait? Because you know, you are aware that the God that you serve is not unfaithful to forget your labor of love. Rejoice with those that have received their own, in anticipation that they will also rejoice with you when you receive yours. God's timetable is not your timetable. The fact that you want God to do it now does not mean that He will do it now. He will do it when you're ready to accept it and use the blessing effectively. He will do it when you will receive that blessing and that blessing will not hurt you. So the first lesson, when I was reading this chapter, I was like, why did Cain not just ask his brother to teach him how to give God an appropriate sacrifice? Why don't you just walk up to that friend and ask that friend, what are you doing that makes you receive favor? What are you doing that you seem so much better than I do at this job? Instead of being jealous, why don't you meet that friend and ask that friend what he or she does different? How about you ask God for what you can do to make your sacrifice better? How about you ask God for direction on how to please your boss? or how to pass that exam, instead of envying people that have succeeded in that line. Then number 2, you may say it's just jealousy, it's just anger, it's just inability to receive correction. It's just greed. It's not a big deal. It's not a huge sin. I'm not doing anything that somebody has not done before. After all, I'm not a murderer. After all, I'm not an armed robber. After all, I'm not a terrorist. After all, I'm not doing all these seemingly big sins. Mine is just, it's just a little. Mine is just a sprinkle of sin. I'm still better than the other person. But guess what? Cain's huge sin did not just occur like that. It started from somewhere. It started from jealousy. Then it progressed to anger. Then it progressed to murder. David did not become a cold-blooded murderer overnight. It started with lust, laziness, because other people were on the battlefield, but he was at home. Then it progressed to greed, taking something that does not belong to you, something that you don't even need. And then it progressed to murder. Judas did not start by saying, oh, you see, as I start my ministry as a disciple of Jesus Christ, I'm going to betray him. He did not start that way. He was greedy. And then because he heard that there was a price tag on the head of Jesus, he gave him out to be killed, to be slaughtered like ordinary chicken. Moses did not start by saying, oh, you see, as I wake up this day, I'm carrying the tablet that contains the 10 commandments and I'm going to smash it on the ground. No. So today, let's make it a point of duty to get rid of that sprinkle of anger, sprinkle of greed, sprinkle of jealousy, sprinkle of whatever it is. Let's make it a point of duty to get rid of those things, because there are stages to those seemingly huge sins. Finally, if you're in the category of people that have already committed this huge sin, the answer is not to run away from God. As we could see, God was the one that looked for Cain. He was the one that reached out to Cain. God is ever present in time of our need. He's ever present, always present, ready to help. But he won't force you to talk to him. He won't force you to receive help from him. But he's ever present. Reach out to God today. Let him guide you. Let him help you. Because even when he's scolding you, he's merciful. Even when he's angry that his beloved child has made a mistake, he's still willing to cover you. Just like he did Cain. And if you're in the category of people that feel like, oh, that will never be me, get rid of that weed before it takes over your whole harvest. I'd like to conclude with something that my dad used to tell me growing up. When God does it for my friend, instead of getting jealous that God has favored that person before me, I'll rather rejoice with that person and tap into the blessing. I remember taking the advice once in my life. God did something for someone that I wanted desperately, more than anything in this world at that point. And during the celebration, I remember the person was wearing a cap. And while I was, celebrating with the person, I was there for the person, I showed up and showed out because I was tapping into that blessing. I remember collecting the cap from the person's head and telling the person that, you see this cap, I will also wear it someday. And I put it on my head. And we took pictures with it. And I said, God, I am tapping into this blessing. This will also happen to me. People will gather like this to celebrate me. Guess what? By that time the following year, that was my story. People had gathered to celebrate me just the same way. So it pays to rejoice with those that are rejoicing. Thank you for participating in another episode of Nevi'a the Storyteller. Thank you for watching previous videos, for liking, for commenting, I appreciate you all, and please don't forget to like, to comment, to subscribe, to tell your friend about this. Keep liking, keep commenting so that YouTube will keep suggesting this video for people that need it. God bless you. Bye.